Hello, Kirsten Liebelt. Come on in, you guys. How are you doing? Good to see you tonight. Super Bowl is done. It is done. That probably means everybody's back on their game plan, right? That's usually what that means. It was like, OMG, all of the amazing food that everybody brought. But now we're back on track, right? Is that what we're doing? I hope that's what we're doing. So, okay, welcome in, you guys. It's really good to talk to you. So, I have had so many comments on different pieces of my content when it comes to sourdough. So we're going to talk sourdough tonight. Sourdough. So of course, if you don't know who I am, my name is Kirsten Liebelt, and I basically help women over 40 ditch their insulin resistance so that they can finally lose weight. Insulin is a hormone, and I am fully convinced that women are sliding into their 40s and they're insulin resistant, and they don't know that that is a key to their ability to lose weight or the fact that they can't lose weight. Okay. And my dad died of type 2 when he was 63, and I was only 30 at the time. I was really young when I lost him, and my kids were little. They were 6'3" and 6 months. And so this has just started this entire journey for me. I actually didn't start it until I was in my 40s, but that's a whole nother conversation. So now what I do is I equip women with targeted supplementation, but then blood sugar friendly foods, right? So I have a Facebook group, and you can check that out. It's on my website and all that good stuff. My first last name.com. But anyway, but I do a lot of grain-free cooking, grain-free, sugar-free. And so the question is always like, number one, OMG, how will I ever give up grain? How will I ever give up bread? That's number one. You ate chicken wings, cauliflower, and guacamole. You did a good job, Julie, on your you did a really good job for Super Bowl. I actually did really good too. I don't I don't I don't have the same issues that I used to have, but I'll tell you how I did that in just a second. And then I'm going to give you some practical reasons why sourdough is one way or the other. Is sugar-free jam safe to eat for insulin resistance? Yeah, it is. I mean, anything, when we're talking about food, we're talking about leaving all of the marketing behind, pushing all of that marketing out of our brain. Keep touching my hat. All of the marketing out of our brain. And the only question that you ask when you put food into your mouth is this going to spike my sugars? So it's not going to spike your sugars. However, pay attention to the ingredients, because I just did some content around aspartame last week when I came live, and we were talking about how aspartame actually raises blood sugar levels. And if it's not doing that, then it is messing with your gut, which is causing other issues when it comes to insulin resistance. So it's actually working against you. So for instance, if you find a jam that's made with allulose or stevia, etc., you probably, Anna, good to see you. Anna DeQueen, good to see you. You just want to make sure that you're using really good sweeteners. And there's a difference between artificial sweeteners and natural sweeteners. So artificial sweeteners, aspartame and saccharin, etc., as opposed to stevia, monk fruit, allulose, erythritol, etc. So the answer is yes. Just check the ingredients. Don't get something that's just a bunch of icky stuff. Okay. So anyway, so when it comes to sourdough, so many people, we want so badly to believe that certain things are good for us, but we're asking the wrong questions. So is sourdough good for digestion because it's fermented? The answer is yes, it is better for your digestion. Is it better for, what was the other reason? What was the other thing? Potential probiotic content, content inside of the bread. Potential, and that's just, it depends on how, I am not a sourdough maker, so I know that people are privy as to how that really works out best, right? Like how do you make a really good, powerful, quote unquote, sourdough, and what's a fake sourdough or what's not as good or potent, let's just say. So basically, yeah, you're welcome. Basically, yes, I mean there could be potentials for that. So again, we go through that conversation of, is it healthy? Is it better than store-bought? Sure. Especially when you know the ingredients that are in it, especially if you're using, or if you're feeding your starter with organic flour, like organic, can you find organic non-GMO? Can you find, right? hard to find in the United States. That's another conversation that we've talked about. But sure, you can make it better without all of the preservatives and et cetera. However, this is the question. So you and I, we're talking insulin resistance. This is our journey, right? So you may not be insulin resistant. More power to you. Like, seriously, if you're not insulin resistant, then this conversation may not pertain to you. However, the percentage of people that have insulin resistance in the United States is very, very high. It's very, very high. And it is just literally an overconsumption of carbohydrates over a long period of time. And you can be insulin resistant for years and years and years before it ever shows up in your blood sugar levels. Just had this conversation with somebody today. It doesn't show up. If you're having a fasting glucose run, that's only telling you if it has finally pushed your sugars up in your blood. I'm not a doctor. I'm just an Italian girl who figured out a few things because of my dad's death. Hey, Roxanne, good to see you. Gisborne, New Zealand, Jay. That's awesome. Welcome to the show. New Zealand, man, that is on my list of places to go. So what happens is you finally find out that your blood sugars have gone up after a long period of time. So you can be insulin resistant. I started in my early 20s, gestational diabetic with my first baby, hypoglycemic with my second baby. I'm in my early 20s. I hit 30 years old. My dad dies. That's what happens when I'm 30. He's gone. Type 2 diabetes, only 63 years old. He has this whole lazy Susan of medications that he's on. Modern medicine that's supposed to help us, fix us, turn it back around, all of these things, not necessarily true, right? So he's on all of this medication. He's gone. And then I spend my 30s doing absolutely nothing about it. I didn't take supplements. I didn't fix my foods. I didn't do anything that was wisdom, right? So there's a lot of confusion in our culture because of the marketing. And I just heard, in fact, I need to screen record it and maybe put it up in my stories. Jordan Peterson was talking about how the food pyramid was not created by doctors or the medical community. There were some doctors that, this is shocking, you guys. I need to do a reel on this too. There's so much content to be had, right? There were doctors apparently that consulted with it, but the truth is that it was created by the agricultural community. What does that tell you? That should really like make us pause to understand that it is being driven by crops. It's being driven by industry. We are more obese than we've ever been. We are sicker than we've ever been, and we're more medicated than we've ever been, right? So this is a really big deal. Okay, having said that, sourdough. I posted something about this, and people were just like, I don't want to say they were freaking out. I'm being too dramatic if I say that, but people are just convinced. Listen, if all you do is make sourdough, you've fixed it all. You may have fixed it for your digestion. Potentially, you have celiac and you can't eat, gluten, and you have to do things differently, or whatever. Maybe that fermentation process fixes that for you. But now we're talking insulin resistance, right? And so basically what that is saying is then we have to look at how much does it spike our blood sugars. I will post a reel later on after I'm off here that I just did today. I was doing a duet with somebody who does blood sugar testing with a glucose meter. Anyway, and sourdough. So I'm just going to read some of these stats just to kind of help you out. So number one, the reason why sourdough is still going to spike your sugars, and you'll see it in the reel when I show that, it's because number one, the carbohydrate content is still there. You're not getting rid of your carbohydrate content. So basically, sourdough bread still contains carbohydrates, which are broken down into sugars, glucose during digestion. While the fermentation process may result in some reduction of carbohydrate content compared to conventional bread, it does not eliminate carbohydrates entirely. So you're still eating carbs. You're still not getting rid of that. I actually do have a recommendation as to how to fix that, but hold on. I'll give that to you in just a second. The glycemic index. Now remember, the glycemic index is basically telling you what's happening to your sugars over a 2-hour period of time after you eat something. So it's not, there's a difference between how fast something spikes and how it spikes over time. So something can have a good glycemic index, meaning that it goes slow, but if it's still going up, it's still going up. It just did it slower, but it's still spiking your sugars, calling on insulin. Anyway, so okay, I have a hard time with like because they can market to you and tell you that something has a good glycemic index, and it's almost like has a really good glycemic index. Wink, wink. I mean, honestly, like it's ridiculous. But anyway, so the impact of sourdough bread on blood sugar levels can vary depending on factors such as the fermentation time, the flour type, the baking method. While sourdough bread typically has a lower glycemic index compared to white bread, it can still cause an increase in blood sugar, albeit at a slower rate. So, okay. Anyway, all right. Who is like a sourdough lover? Put in the comments if you are a sourdough lover. I would love to know if this is disheartening to you. Or did you already know this? Maybe you already know this. Joanne, hi, good to see you. How long does it take for the sugar to get through your system? 2 hours, Roxanne, is the general thought process that you would check your sugar levels over 2 hours after you eat something. Me, Roxanne, you love sourdough. Me, yes, everybody. I know, right? No, Marcella. Ooh, look at you. That's good. Then you don't even have to worry about it. I know, right? Everybody, most people want to know, yep, most people want to know, like, because when I'm in keto groups and stuff, they're like, how do we make a keto sourdough? And the answer is you don't really, because you're not going to have the same result if you try to ferment almond flour or coconut flour. It's not going to work. But anyway, okay. The next one is portion size. So consuming large portions of sourdough bread can still lead to a significant increase in blood sugar levels, regardless of its fermentation process. Portion control is essential for managing blood sugar levels effectively. So what I teach in the Facebook group, and again, you can always go to, it's my first last name.com, get in the Facebook group. I do a free 5-day challenge every single month. This is for women, by the way. Sorry, guys. It's for women. And free 5-day challenge. And we will go through like, ingredient trade outs and pantry and refrigerator and all that stuff. And then I do a recipe at the end. But I will say it's very important to me to relay when I'm teaching or when I'm like, kind of coaching a little bit on this. It's like, we have to learn how to undo a lot of the things that we've been taught without any shame. Can you understand that if the food pyramid was made by the agricultural industry, that this was made not to benefit you, but to benefit the profits of the crops? And so don't be so hard on yourself for being confused about all of the marketing, for being so confused about what is good for you and what is not good for you. Don't be so hard on yourself. Or maybe you were taught certain things as a child. I really kind of dive deep into that when I'm doing my 5-day challenges, because I talk about how I was raised as an Italian and the messages that were given to me. So that's, whatever. So no shame, right? But also too, I put an actual, like a tangible tool in your belt, or in your toolbox, in your tool belt, in your toolbox, because I talk about carb blocker a lot. Carb blocker actually does work. So I talk about the trio, which are the 3 supplements that have the 3 ingredients that help with insulin sensitivity. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can always put trio in the comments. Instagram, you can't do that because I can't see it when the live is done. You have to put it after the video or DM it to me. But anyway, when people buy the trio, oftentimes they grab the carb blocker, because it took me years to transition my foods. Again, if you don't decide that on Monday you want to transition immediately and go cold turkey, no shame, right? I had carb blocker in my pockets for years. I talk about that a lot because I just want people to know that there are things that can stop that blood sugar spike. And let's say you are like transitioning from sourdough to the egg white protein bread that I love so much. That is actually pinned to the top of my Instagram for you guys. So, but that is something I learned from Maria Emmerich, how to make an egg white protein bread. And what a much better version than a grain bread so it won't spike your sugars. You would not need carb blocker for that. I don't use carb blocker anymore because eventually I just traded out everything. Started with trading out some. So when it talks about portion size, it's like, okay, so what if you just combine a little bit of a smaller portion, you throw a little carb blocker in your pocket, and you just kind of make your choices until you have traded out an ingredient, until you have traded out a recipe, etc. Right? So I'm just saying, like, there are ways to do this. There are practical ways to do this. I'm going to move this in. And then the last one basically is talking about individual response. So the reel that I'll post tonight, He actually is not type 2 diabetic and he is not insulin resistant. So his point is if this spikes my sugars to this degree, how much more somebody who is metabolically not very sound. So when you have metabolic inflexibility, then you're tightening your reins a little bit more. If you've gone a little longer on this journey, you need to really rein things in tighter and more. So when I'm talking to somebody about, let's say, I think it was yesterday, I was talking to them about dawn phenomenon, which is when your sugars are high in the morning. And again, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. Okay, that's a lie. I don't play one on TV at all. Not that you were confused, but I'm just saying, like, that dawn phenomenon, Dr. Eric Berg would talk about how that can take about like a year to heal. Like, this is a healing journey for your body. So if you're brand new to insulin resistance and you're like, I think I'm insulin resistant because I'm in my 40s and I'm gaining weight and that belly fat is like annoying. You're at the beginning of the spectrum. Deal with it now. Like, wow, that's a great place to be. If you're on the other side of the spectrum and you're like, I'm type 2. My symptoms are kind of a lot. Like my blood sugars are pretty out of control. And you need to really rein things in because maybe you're having vision issues. Maybe you're having gout in your feet all the time. And all the things. My dad did all the things. So I know what it looks like to be on that side of the spectrum. Then you have to rein it in maybe tighter and faster, right? But we can do that too. We can do that too. That's where the trio comes in to launch your body into that insulin sensitivity. That's where we can get your food ingredients to get traded out. Like if you're already in the group, if you're already part of the group, like, and I know I can, because I can see people, like you guys probably already know, but just in case you don't, up in the guides of the group, you'll see the video recipes and you'll see some of the recipes that we have done. Roxanne says she's 66 and just learning. You hope you have time. You do have time, Roxanne. You do. You know, my mom, she was 94 when she passed away this last year in 2023. And she had dementia. And they talk about dementia being insulin resistance of the brain, type 3 diabetes. So start now. 66, listen, let's just say now that you live to almost like my mom, you've got another 30 years on this planet. That is plenty of time to turn around, turn back that insulin resistance. What if it took you a full year of really nailing down supplementation, nailing down food ingredient trade-outs? By the end of 2024, let's just say that your pantry looks completely different than it did right now. Your refrigerator looks completely different than it does right now. What if it took you a year, but you had 30 years left? It's just a question. Because we don't know how much time we have left. But what if you turn it around now so that you don't have the dementia issues later on top of everything else right now? I'm just saying, because honestly, this is how I think now. Raised with an insulin-dependent dad, injection shots, he dies, end of life, take care of my mom for 5 years, in and out of her world with dementia. I'll tell you, those things have really impacted my viewpoint on, I just keep going. I don't really care anymore what people like. Food pushers used to bother me, right? Because you take care of the elderly with dementia, Roxanne. Yeah. Boy, it's challenging. Dementia's hard. If we had any idea how much easier it is to change out our foods and to become our own advocate right now, we would jump on it. If we had any idea how much it costs if you're paying cash for dementia care, we would not consider targeted supplementation to be expensive. We wouldn't. We would see that as literally the grain of sand investment into our health as it is. Grain of sand. Yeah, on everyone, Roxanne. It is. It's hard on everyone. It really, really is. It's kind of it's very near and dear to my heart because those are hard years. Those were hard years, right? Because you don't just lose your loved one. Oh, Marianne, I'll answer that in just a second. Thank you for asking questions. I like that. You're not just losing your loved one while they're alive, but you are navigating a world where they can't assess themselves anymore. They can't make good decisions and they need to be kept safe. And now you're the sole provider of their safety because they can't assess anymore. So there are many different levels and layers to that whole conversation. I can do a live on that as well. Well, yeah, dementia care is very expensive. It is. So Marianne asked the question about cinnamon supplementation. So these are the things that I have not worked with, and then I'll tell you what I have worked with. And again, Instagram, I apologize. You have to wait until the video is loaded, or you can DM me. But Facebook, you can always, and YouTube, you can always put Trio in the comments, and I will get you that information. Instagram, if you want to, you can just go to my website, and the Trio is up at the top. You can look at it for yourself. It's actually one of the most inexpensive supplementation trios, three of them, three supplements that I have seen on the market. Now, I've been doing this for 13 years, and now I've studied a lot of different plans. And just because I want to know what's out there, like this has been something that I have been very passionate about for a while now. So the things that I have not tried are berberine. I just 13 years ago, when I needed to deal with my sugars because my mom wouldn't leave me alone about my sugars. God bless her. Oh, she was so smart. But, she's like, "Why aren't you getting your sugars checked?" And, she wanted to make sure that I wasn't having, you know, uh, type 2 symptoms and not getting it taken care of because my dad's blood sugars were uncontrolled for a long period of time. Oh, thank you, Kayla. Yep. Thank you. Yep, Kayla. Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women is the Facebook group, and you can find it on my website, kirstenliebelt.com. You can go there. And there's a Facebook blue button, and you can get into it that way. Um, and so when I started to target supplement, I did it actually just to pacify my mom. I never took supplements. I was not eating healthy. I didn't know anything about the life that I'm living now. This is super ironic that I do this now. But the truth is that berberine, I had never even heard of it. It wasn't a conversation in my brain or around me. So I've never done berberine, although I know that some people use it and it helps them. The only reason why I started to look into berberine was because I had people coming to me and saying it wasn't enough. And so, like, I tell her story a lot, but it's just so impactful. Type 2, found out she was type 2 3 years ago because she had an actual stroke and her A1C was so high. So by the time she got to me last September, she was on berberine and inositol. I've never done inositol either. And she started on the Trio. And for the first time in 3 years, she was able to begin losing weight because it actually brought down her insulin and sugars. And she was actually able to get her morning sugars down from 180s to the 150s. She's gone on since then and has better results even than that. But I like to talk about that first 2.5 months. So berberine, I have not done. I have not done inositol. And cinnamon, I'm a cinnamon girl. Like I put cinnamon on everything, but I have not used cinnamon supplementation. And I think that, to be really honest, I haven't even studied it, but I have a feeling that there are pieces to that to know and understand. And if you're testing your sugars, like when I was pregnant with my first baby, I had to poke my finger 4 times a day and test my blood. And if you're testing your blood, if that's where you are in your journey, then try the cinnamon and see. But I have a feeling that it needs to be a specific cinnamon. I don't actually know what that cinnamon would be because I haven't studied that yet. So, but I would test it because, again, marketing is such a stinky thing. Anybody can market anything that they want. So, like, for instance, the supplementation that I talk about, it's third-party tested, which means that what they say is in the bottle has to actually be in the bottle. Like, right? Like, who knew that that was a thing? And that they can say, yeah, here's some cinnamon supplementation that'll bring down your sugars, but there's no perhaps there are not the 900 scientists to decide whether or not that's true, and that to make sure that it is the exact right cinnamon, that it is an organic cinnamon, that it is the right dosage of cinnamon. Like there are so many things that go into it. Anyway, so I don't know cinnamon either. It's real. Okay, yeah, and I do love cinnamon so much. It's so good. So, so good. I wonder if mine's Ceylon. Ceylon. I wonder if it is. I'm gonna go look at it because I bet it is. But it's just cinnamon that I put on my food. So I wonder. But I've never taken a supplement. So I don't know. Don't want your kids to have to watch that happen to me. I know, Roxanne. So you're in. You're in. Yay! Taking care of your insulin resistance so that you do not have type 3 diabetes. Insulin resistance of the brain. You are very, very smart. So anyway, so really, I just thought that it was super interesting talking about or getting so many comments. And in fact, I already posted the reel on TikTok. And so I already know people are they're not arguing, but they're being resistant to that thought process about sourdough. And you know what? Carbs are carbs. And God did not make bad food. I get that. But the standard American diet has created an issue that we have to turn around. So, as we're turning this around, we do have to make concessions. And so it's not a farce to say that we should be eating low carb. And the truth is that somebody who's eating low carb and they're eating only maybe they've got it down from so I have somebody in my world that she, as a type 2 diabetic, went to her diabetic nutritionist that said she could have 150 grams of carbs a day. That is just criminal to be told that by a diabetic nutritionist. However, having said that, some people think they're low carb and they're eating 60 a day. To me, that's not low carb. That's not low carb enough because then people are still going, but I can't lose weight. So this low carb thing, this thing doesn't work because I'm not losing weight. And number two, my sugars are still so high. I can't get my sugars down. I can't get my morning sugars down. And I'm like, yep, we need to here, let's squeeze it back in just a little bit more. But the beautiful thing is that I am a foodie. I didn't stop being a foodie. I thought I had to. I thought I had to stop being a foodie because I'm Italian. But what I realized that no, I get to still love the foods that I love. I just change out the ingredients to the foods that I already love. So that's another thing that I like to teach and talk about a lot with people is listen, this is not suffering. This is not suffering. This is taking a little bit of brain space to learn a new trick or to learn a new path, just a little bit of a new language, right? Until you get to the point where you're like me and I'm like, I haven't used carb blockers in years. Somebody said today that they haven't had corn in I don't know, maybe they said 10 years and I thought, I wonder when's the last time I really had corn. I don't think about it anymore. I don't and it does get to that point. So it's not because I'm amazing, it's because you literally can retrain your pathways that were so indoctrinated into you from being a child as to how you should look at a meal, consider a meal, put a meal together, and like we have all of our own comfort foods because they have an emotional connection to us. Well, that's normal. That's totally normal, right? So anyway, that's yeah. Anyway, let me see here. I want to make sure I cover everything. Yeah, white flour is white flour. I know, I know, I know. Yes, you found sourdough bread stalled your weight loss. I know. And I'm sorry. This isn't just about, coming on and saying, this is bad and you're doing everything wrong and whatever. No, it's just about educating because the more we know, the better we can do and actually get the results that we want. There are people who are most of the time the people that end up connecting with me, connecting into the Facebook group, connecting with me, by purchasing supplementation and then being able to kind of get that encouragement and that coaching because that's the truth. I'm not some GNC guy sitting down on the corner who doesn't know, I'm not 22 years old. This has been my journey. So I can actually work with people one-on-one. But those people that do jump into my world for these reasons, they're ready. They're ready. They're tired usually of not being able to lose weight, of having weight loss stalled like that. And it's like, I understand different communities are very inviting, very, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, in a good way. We're attracted to different communities and to learn, the way that somebody's making sourdough bread or the way that somebody's, whatever, the way that they're grocery shopping or the way that they're filling their refrigerator might just seem really exciting or for whatever reason. I mean, there are just many things that attract us to different communities of people. But the only thing that matters once you're insulin resistant is to ask yourself, is what I'm eating spiking my blood sugars? Because if it is, then what's happening is your body's calling on more and more insulin to deal with everything. And insulin is a fat storing hormone. So once you realize that, you go, I'm tired of storing fat. I'm tired of it. No more. I don't want any more fat storing hormone stuff going on. Like I'm done now. Or you say things like, I'm tired of waking up and aching. See, now I don't ache because I don't eat grain and I don't eat sugar. Um, or you're tired of fighting your blood sugars. You're tired of feeling like you're not getting the answers that you want when you go into the medical community. I hear that a lot where they're really frustrated by the answer is always just another med or an increase of med, and they don't want that anymore. So there are many reasons why any given person wants to have a different result come December 2024. They want to see things differently. It's not just about how you're going to feel in a swimming suit in June. We all want that, right? We all want to feel good in a swimming suit. But at some point, when it becomes about our health, it becomes a different reality. All of a sudden it's like, you know what? Maybe I won't look great in a swimming suit in summer of 2024, but maybe I will in 2025. But by the time between now and then, what if I actually just get my sugars under control? I learn how to love food with just a different twist on ingredients. And like, I'm not exhausted all the time. Like, what if I just had energy and I felt good? So those are the types of things that I find that I talk to people about the most. Like it's a lot of those non-scale victories. Even though on Fridays I come to you and I give you all of the goods on the testimonies. You can go back to last Friday at the end. I gave you some testimonies, and the Friday before. The testimonies are there. They're so there, like people losing weight left and right. And that's exciting because why is that? Does anybody know why it is that people finally lose weight when they deal with their insulin resistance on the front end? Does anybody know why? Hold on, I want to make sure. Menopause has thrown a wrench into elevated blood sugars. Yes, because insulin is a hormone. Yes. It's different. Yeah. Homemade bread. My daughter's talking about homemade bread. Yes. I know. I know. I know. So basically, a functioning person. Oh man, intentionally living mama. That is 100% true. I'm 59. I just turned 59. I function. I function really well. But you know what? I can always take it to another level. Whatever, everything can be taken to another level because your cells properly delegate the sugars versus turning it into fat. Yep. So basically what happens, that's a very good answer, Kayla. So when your insulin is high and when your sugars are high, you literally can't lose weight. You have to bring them down. So that's why all of the testimonies come rolling in on the trio. That's why, because all of a sudden their body is responding, and that those ingredients are helping to bring down insulin and helping to bring down sugars, and their body goes into fat loss mode. And it wasn't before, right? And then you can ride that wave and learn how to change out your ingredients and everything else, because you do have to fix what got you into the pickle to begin with. Otherwise, you're just on a roller coaster, just like you've always been. But when you then turn around and you actually love the foods that you're eating, you're like, dang, this journey wasn't, number one, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And number two, it wasn't as sucky as I thought it was going to be. Geez, I thought this was going to suck so bad. No, 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 no. That's the old days. The old days of changing out your food. Those are the old sucky days. The ones where you had to eat rice cakes and total crap for food and you didn't like it. That's a long time ago. That's not true anymore. Now we're learning how to eat real food that keeps your blood sugars here. For Facebook, I gotta be up here. Just pretend Instagram that I'm way down here. Keeps your blood sugar super level, like here, not high up here, way down here, just steady as she goes, steady as she goes. So that when you eat, your blood sugar goes like this, just a little hill, just a no big deal, as opposed to because you go like this and your body goes, kick out the insulin, kick out the insulin. And then you have high insulin, you have high inflammation, and then all of a sudden, all this extra glucose that can't get into your cell turns to fat. That's what's on the inside of your knees, your back, and your belly. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. So anyway, but there you go. That's what I wanted to bring to you tonight so that you guys could get a better perspective of that. And again, Facebook and YouTube, you can put Trio in the comments below and I will answer that for you. And then Instagram, you can either DM me or wait till the video gets posted, or you can always go to my website and there's a link on my profile. So, all right, you guys have a super blessed night. Thanks for jumping on. This was so much fun. I love it, love it, love it. And maybe you're going to reconsider that sourdough thought process. I'm just saying. All right, we'll see you guys later. Have a really good night.